The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions of DIN Media Studios. Any questions or concerns about what is said should be directed to the show host or producers. Thank you and enjoy. Peace and blessings. This is Jakim from the Hard Talk with Jakim show. Listen, I have to do the thing about the copyrights that we're using it for a fair use. So here it goes. United States Code Title 17, Copyright Chapter 1, Subject Matter of Scope of Copyright, Section 107. We're using it for fair use for criticism and commentary and also news reporting. So anything that we put on here, we're actually invoking the fair use. Peace and blessings, y'all. Yes, this is the Hard Talk on a Wednesday. Not usually do it on a Wednesday, but we got the Hard Talk with Jakim show on a Wednesday, and I got some great guests with me today. Listen, we're going to be talking about mass shootings, and we're going to talk about community shootings as well in this one. So today, you just saw the video that a young man from TikTok did for the victims of Buffalo shooting. Now, again, since we've had that time, we've had one more shooting down in California. One person died there, and a hero died there. And of course, the cluster effing up in Uvalde, Texas. So I've got two other guests, and I also got one more guest on the way, y'all. So bear with us. I got brother Patrice out of Wilmington, Delaware, who's with us, who is a community activist, and man, he has been doing some great, fantastic stuff. And I've got Tawanda Graves. Now, if y'all don't know her about Back to the Children and all that stuff, if you don't know all the stuff about her, you're going to hear about it right now. So I'm going to defer to the woman of the group first, Tawanda Graves. Tell them about yourself.
Thank you for having me on, Jakim. I think you came to my show, and I'm just returning the love. Of course, when you asked, I would love to come and sit and talk to you guys, but I'm the CEO of Bring Back Our Children, which focuses on missing kids, primarily minorities. We do cover every nationality, but what we found here in the United States was a lot of minority children don't fit the criteria for breaking news coverage, and they don't fit the criteria for active Amber Alert. So we wanted to make sure that we used our platform, which is social media, as an outlet to get these faces across from state to state.
All right. Thank you so much. I see Timothy is trying to get in. He hasn't popped in yet. Tim, if you're watching us on Facebook, you can actually just do the link that we sent you yesterday or today and just get on in. Now, Patrice, give him a rundown of what you're about, because we get ready to get hot and heavy. I usually try to start it off small, easy, and then get hard. We're going to start off hard today. Go ahead, Patrice.
All right, I'm Patrice Gibbs. I am the host of The Open Eye, known as the Third Eye Optometrist. Our show consists of information that's going to uplift our community. I have a saying concerning using vehicles of communication. If you're not using your vehicle of communication to uplift the community, to help the community, you're a drunk driver on the information highway. Please get off. Please pull.
Yeah. I love that. I love that, man. I think Dr. Claude Anderson was saying that before, that since we were denied media coverage and denied media access on a lot of stuff, if all you're doing on Facebook and Instagram is putting up stuff about how you flossing and getting bit, then you are wasting our time. Yes. We have some things that we need to get done. Now, I'm going to be right back. I'm just going to show this real quick thing of the list of the victims from the Buffalo shooting. Now, Buffalo shooting, I'm going to say this. Buffalo shooting took about 4 minutes of the legacy media time. And then, guess what happened? It went out of there. We've got silent with some of our people. I see we got our brother Tim. Brother Tim is there, so I'm going to wave to him. I'm going to bring him in. But before we do that, I just wanted to, for all of our viewers, I want you to just check out this list real quick. All right. So we got our brother, Dr. Timothy Johns is in the house. So what we did was we made sure that we have a full round. We got activists, we've got people that's bringing back the children, and this is our spiritual leader, our brother, Dr. Timothy Johns. Give us a big thumbs up, brother.
All right.
Hey, tell us where your pastor at over in Delaware, where you do your stuff at.
Yeah, we are in Leisure Elementary School right now, which is right off of Route 40 in Bear, right behind the Seasons Pizza. We purchased some land on Old Baltimore Pike, so we're in a building process. So we're in the school until our building goes up later on this year. So it's an exciting time.
All right, man. Listen, man, I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you're getting those things, and like I was telling Patrice before the show, I don't really rock with a lot of organized religion. I'm going to tell you this, but me and him talked to each other about 4 years ago, and I rock with this man because I like this man here. Listen, before we get started again on this, and remember, this is going to be shown. Okay, somebody, that's you, Kim. So this is going to be shown on YouTube on Delaware Info Now, 24 hours from now. So you'll see it on YouTube on Delaware Info Now. Let me just go to real quick to Steve Kerr, what he had to say, the first thing he had to say.
We've had elderly black people killed in a supermarket in Buffalo. We've had Asian churchgoers killed in Southern California. And now we have children murdered at school. When are we going to do something?
Now, again, Steve Kerr, he amplified the voice, because when white folks say something onto what we call legacy media, they amplify it. But we've been saying this for a long time. We've never had all the mass shootings in our communities, but we've had community shootings. And I'm going to give it to you, Brother Patrice, from here. One of the things that I seen that Dr. Carol had on, Dr. Carol Anderson, if you don't know her, you need to check out her videos online, was that a lot of this white rage that we get during times is a lot of it is because white people think that black people are demanding better for their lives. And you could tell by the manifesto that this guy put on it. He put a lot of negative things against Black Lives Matter. He put the N-word on his AR-15. He put those things. Do you think that this is just an extension of white supremacy?
Oh, most definitely. For one thing, you got to remember that he's influenced by the media. Case in point, and specifically Tucker Carlson, who spouts this replacement theory. Now, one of the things that Dr. Carol Anderson says about white rage is what bothers them more than anything is when you have a black person that is articulate, you have a black person that is successful. The old folks had a saying a warning, if you will, about economic success for Black people. And history has shown us the reality of that warning. And that warning is there's nothing a white man with a penny hates more than a Black man with a
that you're absolutely right. And I'm going to give you this to Tawanda, because Tawanda's out there as well. Tawanda, one of the things that we saw in Uvalde, and coming from a law enforcement, remember, I'm retired law enforcement from New York, coming from a law enforcement background, one of the things that we saw in Uvalde, Texas, is that they kept lying to the people, to the press, and they tried to get the information out there, and the press was gobbling it up. Mm-hmm. Until somebody in the press, whether it be CNN, MSNBC, maybe Fox, I don't believe Fox, but and I don't believe CNN too much either, but somebody said these timelines are not hooking up. What do you think about that?
I think it's even in me, because I've tracked both around the clock, and I've never had to do so many corrections in my life. Everything that the news had early on, we had to clarify, and you know, people was mad at us, but this is what the news gave us. But I would say in response to the Buffalo shooting, we see this in mainstream white media all the time. In the first 48 hours, it's nothing, no one else covering it around the clock. We see the same thing in missing Black kids. It should be, instead of asking why this is, we need more Black media to step up and cover our Black stories. Why do we keep them in the hands of mainstream white media? But as far as Uvalde, I've been covering it around the clock. It's been devastating. But again, it goes to show that the white supremacists and hate crimes right here in America. And every couple of years around the same time, we have school shootings. It's not no reason why you shouldn't be safe in your own community, and you're shopping at your own community grocery store, your own schools. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you know, you're absolutely right, Tawanda. And Tim, one of the things that I have seen during this whole time is, in some ways, our religious leaders aren't saying enough in our Black communities about what is the obvious racist undertone to a lot of these things. What do you say about that?
Well, you know, obviously we've seen this cycle before, but I must say that the shooting in Uvalde really touched my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it did.
It really. At first, I couldn't stop watching it, and then I had to stop watching it because it made me angry at our political system on both sides. Our political system is broken, and both parties are at fault because of this. And yeah, it's easier to point their finger at the Republicans, but we got some closet Democrats,
yes,
that vote with these same Republicans, and they're doing this background politics, and nothing is getting done. And so I fault our political system. It made me feel real aggressive to hold these politicians accountable to supporting the needs of the people. There's something that Steve Kerr said that it was so true, and he hit the nail right on the head. And it's a shame that a white person had to say this to get as much mileage, but we've been saying it all along.
Yes, we have.
He said, you know, 90% of the public is for, you know, some gun restrictions across the board.
Some gun safety laws. Sure.
Yeah, gun safety law across the board. And in this situation, it's just exposed the very fact that these politicians who we've sent to office are not supporting our views.
Yes, I will say that, and I will concur with what you just said. Not only will I concur with it, I'm going to play Steve Kerr last part of that statement a little bit later. But this one I'm just going to put out to anybody on here. One of the things that I have always said that is hatred is hatred. It doesn't matter what hatred is, who you hate. If I was at a place and somebody said, I hate Chinese people, then I know what you feel about me. So I always understood this, and I put this out to everybody. The Uvalde made me mad, made me upset, but I really lost it off the Buffalo. I'm gonna tell you the reason why. I really lost it mostly for Buffalo because it was a shopping center, and because most of those people were over 50 years old.
Yes.
Most of those were our elders that were over 50 years old. And secondly, how quick it left the legacy media. That was the key there. And you're absolutely right. Uvalde was you was ready to break them. But let me in full disclosure, I am a firearm owners. And I'm not against, and listen, I respect everybody's opinion about the Second Amendment. And I respect anybody's opinion for self-defense. I have a problem with AR-15s being handed to 18-year-olds, and yet that same 18-year-old can't buy Claritin without ID, can't buy liquor because they're 21. I have a problem with that. Do anybody else have a problem with that?
Absolutely.
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 Of course.
Yeah, well, and I do have a problem if you tell me I can't arm myself. I have a problem with that too. Because you tell me any of our freedom fighters in the 1960s during the civil rights movement, every last one of them that were killed probably would have said, I would have loved to have a gun.
Yeah.
So I'm not anti-gun. What I am is anti-stupidity on that you're not putting a regulation on it, and it's by design. What do you think, Patrice?
Well, most definitely it's by design. Let me tell you something. The NRA is not interested in gun rights. They are not interested in your right to buy a gun. I mean, they are not interested in your right to bear arms. Let me put it like that. What they're interested in is your right to buy arms because that brings them a lot of revenue. Okay, that's what they're really interested in. Now, I'll say this about the Second Amendment, and I agree that we should have the right to bear arms to protect ourselves. That only makes sense. And of course, there's a lot of misconceptions about who some of our leaders were in the 1960s. For instance, Dr. King, when his house was bombed, okay, he had to be called down by the other civil rights leaders because he went to get his gun. Okay.
Oh, you ain't gonna hear that in the history books, right?
No. That's a historical fact. Okay. Now, like you said, what do regular citizens need with an AK-47, with an AR-15? These are weapons of war.
Let me get Tawanda here and Tim on that, because let me just say this. Since the assault weapon ban has been lifted from 1994, manufacturers have innovated those particular weapons. And when they innovated them, they made them even more deadlier. And I think you get ready to get some. So they made them even more deadlier. And in 1995, and this is for everybody to know, in 1995, Congress passed a bill and was signed into law that do not hold gun manufacturers liable for a lot of things done with their guns, especially if somebody modifies the gun. Semi-automatics is what everybody wants. Am I right or wrong, Tawanda?
Absolutely.
And I'm going to push this to you, Tawanda, about gun buybacks. When you do a gun buyback, and most places have gun buybacks, most people ain't giving up that semi-automatic weapon.
They're not at all. And I think for me, if you look at the situation with this young man who the media, the first day we knew that it was coming about mental illness, and let me be real clear. White supremacy and hate crimes is not mental illness. That's not mental illness. Whatever he had going on in his household, I don't think had anything to do with his actions that day, because those babies at the elementary school did nothing to you. They did absolutely nothing to you. But the fact that he waited until the very next day, I think, is the accurate, that he turned 18 and he went and brought 2 rifles and 375 rounds of ammunition. I mean, the people are just now taking money, because you have to think about, what does a kid that just turned 18 need with 2 semi-automatic weapons and 375 rounds of ammunition? Like, what are you doing with that?
In less than 48 hours, Tawanda, in less than 48 hours, Brother Tim, that is Tawanda's making a great point, and Brother Patrice made a great point. When we talk about these weapons of mass destructions, I don't even like to use that term so much, because George W. Bush used it and it was a lie better, but yes, we're going to call it that for tonight. When they use these weapons of mass destructions, usually, and of course we talked about earlier, the replacement theory, which I ain't even going to talk to you about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing and what she thought of that. God bless her soul. But a lot of these people that are doing this also make sure that they start quoting the Bible and the cross and guns. And I was on a show earlier this week, and that's one of the things they kept saying was, it's so funny how that it's the Bible, the cross, and the gun that has been trying to keep us down. How do you feel about those situations, brother?
Well, you have to call hypocrisy. You have to call the hypocrisy out. When the governor of Texas can go on national television and make a statement that he's upset that California is buying more guns than Texas, it's like a whistle to the NRA that to flood more money into Texas. See, they're playing these political games. It's about the money that the sale of the arms generate. The NRA cares nothing about people. All it cares about is generating revenue for their product. And so you'll have that side of the Republicans who want to slip Christianity jargon in there to defend human rights, so to speak. It's a smokescreen. It's a smokescreen. They really don't care about people. They don't. Yeah, I think the reason they add that religious spin on it is because they want to promote the freedom of the individual to do whatever he wants to do, irregardless of their intent. And so it's a constant flow of hypocrisy that you got to be open to. You really got to be woke. You got to be woke to it, because if this governor is going on national television, he's saying specifically those things for a particular reason. He wants to get a certain response.
Well, let me just hear, man, somebody got that little kid in there. I hear. I like I told him earlier this week on the show that I was on, I said it's not about so much the Bible, the guns, and the cross, because they use the cross to do cross burning and all the other stuff that they still do. It hasn't gone anywhere, y'all. Just in case y'all don't know, the Ku Klux Klan and white supremacists is not going anywhere. But their real religion is not evangelistic. It's not evangels. Their real religion is white dominance.
Yes.
That's what their real religion is. Yes. And I heard Bishop Swan say that a couple of weeks ago, and I agreed with him 100%. Their real religion is not the Bible. Their real religion is not the cross. It's real religion, not Jesus. It's white dominance. Now,
if I could add something to that, and this is so real for us, because these same individuals that quote scripture and quote that this America was founded on religious principles are the same individual that ignores that the Constitution was racially biased.
Yes.
That's the part. They want to highlight that this was founded on Christian, and this is what burns me up about our evangelicals. This is what
Yes.
this is where the rubber meets the road for me.
Yes, sir.
Because I have evangelical friends that are white, that are all colors, but I don't hear them talking about that the people who the founding fathers were racist.
Yes. And
you don't hear them talking about that.
You know, when you say that, we had that discussion with Bishop Swan, and he was talking about that same thing, yo. So listen, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to play a couple of videos, but I want you to pay attention, and I want the viewing public, pay attention. This is how it all started. It's called the culture, in which these people in America, some of these people who are racist intent and raising racist kids, this is how that culture is. Check out these videos. Guests, if y'all want to get some waters, y'all can get some, but check out these videos.
Hey, what's your name? Maverick? That is awesome. How old are you, Maverick? He is 4 years old. Show me what you do with your gun. Do it again. Take the magazine out. Oh, can you put it back in? High five. Yeah!
Little boy, you better get your ass from off my porch beating on my door like this. I will call the police. You need to leave. Don't you ever
want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up?
A murderer, because I like killing. My brain tells me if I like killing or not. I like killing because when I first watched my grown-up killing show, myself started to like killing, and then my brain started to like tell me what to do with killing it. So I like murders and I like killing in my life. I'm gonna kill everybody in the world except for my family because they just didn't do anything to me. I just like killing.
So just any type of person, it doesn't matter. What about me?
Yeah.
Even me?
No, not even my teachers either.
Okay, because I'm the first person that you told this. Am I? Yeah?
So, I just like killing.
So what are you going to be again when you grow up?
A murderer.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Give him some help.
So again, yes, brother Patrice. I say watch that little, and the one with the whip. Oh my Lord, we got. Listen, let me just say this. We watch these things, and my laughter is a nervous laughter for our future. It is not a laughter that ha funny. This is what America is. And this is why we lead in mass shootings all over the world. We lead in community shootings all over the front. In fact, let me just say this. I just had my neighbors outside was out there arguing over people parking in front of their things. So I'm living in Dunleavy and stuff, and they out there arguing. And I'm saying I got a video because just before somebody pull out a gun, and because, they don't go with their hands anymore. They don't go with their hands. And this is what we're living in. And the young people, the 3 videos I just showed you, the one with the white kid with a whip, whipping the little black girl's door because that's what the father was teaching him. That's what the mother was teaching him. This is the culture that has to change. And I said this earlier in this week. Nothing's going to change until you change that gun culture lifestyle that we have. Now, I started with you, Patrice, the last time. I'm going to start with you, brother Johns. Tim, that culture, do you think that's a big part of a problem? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've had my own experiences with it because I live down here below the canal in Middletown, and I had an interesting thing happen to me that happened to my family years ago over at one of the schools. I don't want to mention the school because I'm not trying to give them any bad press, but the reality is a little white kid told my daughter he's going to go get his father's gun and shoot her. Oh, absolutely. He told her this. And when we made a stink about it, they tried to swash it under the rug as if it was just a casual comment and it was okay. But if that was, see, that's the culture we live in. And if that was one of us doing that, they would have tried to expel my child. They would have tried to do, it would have went the other way.
Would have went to an underground prison.
Oh, absolutely. We've got, and this is a girl, a young boy talking to a girl, and he says, I'm gonna get my father's truck and his gun and run you over and shoot you. And they handled it like it was just something a child
with kid gloves on.
Yes.
You know, the reason why I wanted to chime in on that particular thing, because I have some paperwork from upstate New York where a father, the son said he wanted to kill all the people. And this just happened Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. This happened Tuesday. That a judge did not take it seriously. Nothing happened. But our judicial system don't take these complaints seriously enough in these situations. And I'm going to give it to you, Tawanda. If a child is hitting if a child is hitting people with a stick, I blame the child and not the stick. But however, I'm still going to take that stick away. And that's how I feel about the AR-15s.
Absolutely.
You not everybody can have them. Absolutely.
And I think that racism is learned. It's not, no kid grow up and is just racist. It's homebred racism. It's teaching them how to be, and they brought up in that type of environment just to be hateful. I want to say, as far as the Buffalo mass shooting, in case people didn't know, it is an update, and it took a lot of digging, and that's one of the things that I really hate right now about mainstream white media, is because we have to dig for our minority stories. But just today, the grand jury charged the shooter with domestic terrorism motivated by hate. Just today, he had 10 counts of first degree murder, 10 counts of murder. He had 10 counts of first degree murder, 10 counts of murder in the second degree as a hate crime. And he had 3 counts of attempted murder in the second degree as a hate crime, and criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree. Now, tell me why something that's that important is not circulating on every news outlet when the grand jury made this verdict.
You're absolutely right. I was getting ready to watch CBS. I do watch a lot of news programs, and I was watching the CBS Evening News before I got on, and I did not see it on there. I did see it on somebody's TikTok. Somebody had it on TikTok. And we all know, and since 2020, we all know that social media gets it way before legacy news put it on. But I'm going to give you this one to you, Patrice, on that same thing. And the valid point there, Tawanda. A retired federal agent was one of 6 people to receive notice of the Buffalo shooter's plan to slaughter Black people 30 minutes before the attack took place. Mm-hmm. They all met and communicated through one hate site. Mm-hmm. The hate sites that we see on social media seems to never get shadow banned as much as us Black folks on social media who were talking equality and everything else, and who ain't talking hate. I get shadow banned. I have been in more Facebook jail and Instagram jail than I've ever been, but this is what's in that culture of law enforcement. And I'm going to tell you that because I worked it for 21 years. That culture of law enforcement also has to change. What do you say about that, Patrice?
Oh, most definitely agree with that. And culture is key here. Okay. We saw these 3 children. All right. And let me say this. Their brand of evangelical Christianity is nothing but a male chauvinist murder cult.
That's right. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And like you said, their religion is white dominance, white supremacy.
Yeah.
Now, whenever Black children do something, it's the pathology of their culture. It's their parents' fault. Okay. Well, when you raise these terrorists, because that's what they are, I don't care how reluctant the mainstream media is to call them what they are, because they are white supremacist terrorists. Isn't it interesting how the Black Panther Party was broken up? Isn't it interesting how Jeff Sessions, Beauregard Sessions, stated that these protest groups are Black identity extremists? Well, we're dealing with white identity extremists who, more than any other group, way outnumber those that do mass shootings.
Yes, and that's a good point, valid point. Valid point. And let me just say this before I'm going to play State Senator Representative Donna Bullock thing about law enforcement. Now, again, when I retired from law enforcement, Rikers Island, Queens House of Detention, Brooklyn House of Detention, all the other borough facilities and other commands that I was in, one of the things that I had to fight all the time is to make sure that they got equal protection even when they were in jail. If somebody's locked up, you got no reason to be busting people upside their heads and all that other nonsense and all that. And because I was Muslim, I've always had to do the Ramadans. I always was the what they call the inmate relation officer. So I had to do the inmate counsel. You know how they have it in jail. And one of the things that they always did tell me, and this is for all y'all that don't know anything about jail, when there was a racist officer in jail and they may have had a noose tattoo on their arms, the inmates were the first ones to tell you about it before your own officers, because they're looking at everything that you do. And I used to get it all the time when I worked security. They said, yo, Seal Muhammad, that guy's got this guy did that. And we had to investigate. And 9 times out of 10, they were right. They were right. All right, y'all, I'm going to be right back, y'all. I'm going to play Donna. I'm going to play State Senator Donna, and I'll be right back with y'all.
Because when I get on a plane, I don't expect the airline to tell me they have a few bad apples on the flight crew. Or when I go to the emergency room, I don't expect the doctors to tell me there's a few bad apples working in the emergency room that day. And so the citizens of Pennsylvania do not expect from their law enforcement to have a few bad apples serving their communities.
How white rage works. It became clear to me that the presence of Black people was not the trigger for white rage. There's that stunned, almost what you're talking about, Willis, look. It is the presence of Black people with ambition. The presence of Black people with drive. The presence of Black people with aspirations. The presence of Black people who achieve. It's the presence of Black people who refuse to accept their subjugation. The presence of Black people who demand their rights. That's the trigger for white rage.
Now, thank you, Dr. Carroll. Dr. Carroll was hitting it way back when, and so many of us were hitting it way back in. In this segment, I really want to talk about that myth that used to be out here all the time, that the answer to all of our evils is another good guy with a gun. You've heard that myth, and I got a great panel that's going to chime in on that. You know, the good guy with a myth. Well, in Uvalde, supposedly we had hundreds of good guys with guns, and they did not stop one person with ammunition in a room with our little babies killing. So the good guy with a myth, with the good guy with a gun, is going to be the answer to solving all of this, is a myth. And I'm just going to go straight to you, Patrice. What do you say about that?
Well, like you said, Uvalde blew that theory way out of the water. Okay. And then another thing is, I can't imagine giving teachers guns.
Yes.
Okay, when I know some of the teachers I went to school with and how they felt about my black tail, okay, and just me raising my voice because that's how I was raised, I could just imagine little black male in the school whom they fear, oh, well, he was attacking me, he made me feel threatened, and the next thing you know, the teacher then shot the student.
Well, listen, that's the last thing we want to do is give teachers guns. I agree with you, Patrice.
Well, they don't even trust them with books.
Right.
So they trust them with guns. That's just
Tawanda, you got to chime in on here. Giving teachers the best way to fight this evil is having other good guys with guns. What do you say about that?
As far as, I don't think that's the solution. I think the solution is to having protocols in place for situations. Uvalde could have easily been prevented. I know here in Delaware, you can't even enter my kid's school without being buzzed in through a security locked door. Uvalde Police Department has one of the highest protocols for situations like this. Now, how it all failed, I don't know. I think you had like 80 plus officers that was terrified of one. Hold on.
Let me. I see you tripling over those words. I ain't gonna triple over. We had some cowards.
Exactly.
We had some cowards that would not go in there. If you ain't going in there for little kids in an elementary school, then I know you are coward. You got body armor on. You got 40% of the budget of Uvalde goes to the police department. 40% of the city, and y'all didn't want to engage.
Let me add this. It's not a fact because it's more being developed. It's not a fact that they did not want to go in to engage. What they did was they breached the school. It was a 45-minute delay up to an hour for everybody else. But they went in and they got their own children out. Is what they did.
That. Yes, I was going to say that.
Is what they did.
You're absolutely right, Tawanda. You're absolutely right. And let me just say this. There were many people, there were a couple of officers that went in that school and took their own kids out. And took their own kids out of harm's way. Now, Tim, I'm going to talk to you about the young lady that has been reported in the news, Angelique Rose Gomez. She was a farm supervisor that drove 40 miles to the school, and she was kind of arrested by the cops because they put handcuffs on her, and yet she was able to get out of the handcuffs, maybe with some help, maybe not with some help, and said, I'm going in here to get my kids. Now, Tim, I know what we going to do. I already know what we're going to do. Some people say, oh, you don't know about the situation until you put them. I've been in riots. I've been in 4 or 5 riots. I got unit come. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to protect CYA. I'm going to protect that, and I know what I'm going to do. But this situation right here, with 40% of your budget goes to public safety, when it came time to shoot the final shot to hit that basket, these people failed. What do you say about that, bro?
Well, the very fact that police officers went and got their own child makes you question if this was a predominantly white school, would they've set outside? It makes you question that. Because, and the reason I go there is because your parental instincts kicks in.
Yes.
To go help your child, but not the others. That's a problem.
Agreed.
That's a problem.
And
They should be fired.
I'm going to get back to that, and thank you brought that up. Let me just say this, and Tawanda, and Patrice, I'm going to give it back to, but I'm going to give it back to Tim on this one. Think about this, y'all. Think about this. The rest of these guys are out here running with G.I. Joe uniforms on. Everybody wants to run out here. Yet, unarmed black men and women across this country, unarmed, they're ready to bust in ready to break the walls down. We ain't even going to talk about Breonna Taylor because we already know that was a travesty. They're ready to bust the walls down. It only took, and to your point, Tawanda, I'm going to bring it back to Tim. I don't care if the commander told me I couldn't go in. After 20 minutes and I'm hearing gunshots, one locked door, I'm going in. He going to have to do whatever he got to do. I'm going in. That's how despicable these people are. What do you say about that, Tim, again?
Listen, I'm ex-military. And
me and you both.
If I'm in a battle and I run from the conflict and leave my people there, they're going to court-martial me. They're going to court-martial me because I took an oath. These officers took an oath to protect the lives of the citizens, and they did not do it.
That's right. And yes, there should be accountability.
There should be accountability.
And Patrice,
when that kind of thing get exposed, that's one of those rules where you override an authority's rules because it violates the oath.
It violates you. If I'm hearing gunshots and I'm behind this door, we got to go. Tawanda and Patrice, you'll notice, listen, the kids in that school don't have bulletproof vests. They don't have ballistic vests on. They don't have stabbing. They don't have an AR-15. They don't have an M4. You know what they got? They got crayons and a backpack. At some point in time, Patrice, and I'm going to give this to you. At some point in time, as a man, you got to say, I'm going in there.
Well, Jakim, one point before, this is the key here. Didn't they violate the order by going and getting their own child?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, they did.
That's
great point. Great point. Great point. What do you say, Patrice?
Well, I'm a veteran. Okay. And one of the things we learn in the military, one of the first things you learn about combat is you don't run away from the gunfire. You run to the gunfire. That's what you do. I can remember I was in a foreign country and with foreign soldiers, and a sniper shot an American soldier sitting right next to me.
Wow.
These soldiers, without any orders, immediately chased that sniper down.
Immediate response.
Immediate response. That's training. Immediate response. Okay? These people were cowards. They're showing themselves to be beyond.
Oh my God. And liars. Liars.
Oh yeah, major liars.
Oh, and I'm talking from the Texas public safety officer, from the governor on down. The governor said he was giving misinformation. Well, why are you trying to get this out there? Because they love to do the misinformation and disinformation. Tawanda, you know that's one of their favorite game is to get out that disinformation.
It is. It's to clean it up. But again, it goes back to their training. The Uvalde police has a special training in those situations, and the orders is if it's an active shooter, you breach the building immediately. You do not wait an hour. You don't wait. What I thought was equally disgusting is the number of when they released the 911 tapes of the kids who were so brave to call the police to come to help them, and they did absolutely nothing. But what's even more trifling is the fact that you had parents that was willing to sacrifice their life for not only theirs, but everybody else's children. And those parents, and thank God for smartphones and people was able to video, because this would have never made the news, that the police arrested them, threatened to shoot them, detained them, and was going to arrest them for them trying to go in and save kids. It's something that they didn't want to do. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tim. I know you wanted to say something. Yeah, Tim.
No. I'm just listening to what Tawanda is saying. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, what did you get ready to say, Patrice?
There was one lady who they handcuffed her because she was going.
Yeah, that was Angelique Rose Gomez. That was her. Yes.
And she talked them into taking the handcuffs off, and she ran there and she got her children.
Right.
Something that they wouldn't.
But you know what? there probably would have been even more of parents doing that if the police wasn't harassing them outside and threatening to pepper spray them and do other stuff instead of getting in there to get this one shooter. One shooter, one shooter, one locked door. One shooter, one locked door.
But I have a question. So why was Border Patrol and the Uvalde Police Department there? It wasn't a big enough threat that SWAT and everybody else was to show up at the scene, because I don't recall seeing them there.
No, I don't.
I told you 40% of the budget in Uvalde was for public safety, specifically the police department. So this is a poor neighborhood. In fact, we know now that Matthew McConaughey grew up there in Uvalde. When he went out there yesterday, that's where he grew up at. So this is a poor neighborhood, but yet 40% of the budget, and that's like in most municipalities. Yes, why was the SWAT not there to go in on this active shooter immediate crisis? This is an immediate crisis. Yeah, Tim, I know you wanted to jump in on there.
Yeah, I mean, there's some questions. I mean, this is going to be, they're fighting to cover this up. And, they know there were many blunders here, and obviously, it's going to take some persistence. It's going to take some, as we say in the hood, snitches, because there is some stuff that we haven't even seen yet, because this stuff got out. They knew this guy was in there, and everybody that was in power to make it happen heard about it and knew about it. We still don't understand really why they did not respond.
You know, I want to address something that
go ahead, yes, sir.
Dr. John said earlier. Okay, they were 3 minutes away from that school. It took them 15 minutes to get there. That speaks volumes to what Dr. John said. Would that response have been that long if this was a school predominantly white?
Well, let me just answer. Yes, and you're right. Brother Tim was saying that, and you're absolutely right. And Tawanda was saying as well. One of the things is, this is police abuse at its highest. This is, you can't get any police abuse higher than this. That if you ain't even going to try to save the babies. I know. That's police abuse. We all know it. Now, let me just say this about Buffalo. And I wanted to get back to Buffalo because we all heard the 911 call, and I'm going to give you a chance to get some water. We're going to go into a little bit overtime. So we're going to go into a little bit overtime, y'all. I'm going to play this video of Steve Kerr, and then I'm going to play the Buffalo 911 call where the operator hung up. So we'll be right back with the Hard Talk with Jakim show.
When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of the, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough. There's 50 senators right now who refuse to vote on H.R. 8, which is a background check rule that the House passed a couple of years ago. It's been sitting there for 2 years. And there's a reason they won't vote on it, to hold on to power. So I ask you, Mitch McConnell, I ask all of you senators who refuse to do anything about the violence and school shootings and supermarket shootings, I ask you, are you going to put your own desire for power ahead of the lives of our children and our elderly and our churchgoers? Because that's what it looks like.
All right, y'all. So again, we're back here, and I'm going to play that 911 call. We'll be right.
Who is live on the line with us? Letitia, if you're there, thank you for joining us. It's my understanding that you were working inside of the Tops Market. I believe you're an assistant manager there. Can you walk us through what you saw this afternoon?
I didn't really see much at all. I just heard the gunshots and just dropped down to the ground and just waited for him to stop. And he just wouldn't stop. So I tried to call 911, and I was whispering because I could hear him close by. And when I whispered on the phone to 911, the dispatcher start yelling at me, saying, "Why are you whispering? You don't have to whisper." And I'm trying to tell her, like, "Ma'am, he's in the store. He's shooting. He's an active shooter. I'm scared for my life." And she said something crazy to me, and then she hung up in my face. And I had to call my boyfriend.
All right, y'all. Y'all heard that. Y'all already know that. I'm going to give it to you. Again, public safety. This is the 911 operator. Why are you whispering? What's the problem? Why are you bothering me? Type attitude. And on all I got to say is, man, again, public safety in Buffalo. And I know we were concentrated about the Uvalde as well, but this public safety issues in Buffalo. We heard that this person communicated to people 30 minutes before he went in. We have a problem that they're watching me on social media so damn tight, and you need to be watching the people who out here harming people. Now, we do got a comment here, and I want to chime in, and big welcome to our brother Maurice Morris is over here. And Maurice is another law enforcement who also worked a number of years in law enforcement. And he just said good evening to everybody. The other thing that's wild about that 911 call is that when it came to the legacy media, it only stayed on for a second about her. And then we heard that they suspended the person. And now I don't know if they were suspended with pay or without pay. And I don't even know if they reinstated. So I'm going to give this one to Tawanda, because Tawanda's laughing right here because she knows this media is 100%. What do you say about that, Tawanda?
It's sad because when this story first came out with the 911, they tried to cover this up too. And it goes, the lady that called 911 hung up her phone on the police, and I'm thinking, like, that's kind of odd. Like, why would that happen? And then you got other videos saying that the 911 caller hung up on her, and she had to call her husband and get her husband to call 911. But again, we could talk about Buffalo all day, how this white terrorist was successfully apprehended. And we have our people that's
not with a mark on them.
Not with a mark on them. How we're being slaughtered in the street for nothing. But it's probably a whole nother show when people are saying about the police, because I wanna bring this point of when you guys were saying that they took an oath of office, but also want people to understand what the Constitution says. And the Constitution says that they have no legal liability to protect and serve the community. So we have to really figure out how we can protect our own self, because the police, who we think are there to protect and serve, are not really there to protect and serve their communities.
You know, and that's one of the things that Dr. Anderson, that she says, Carol Anderson, is that we all sing from the same hymn book. The police are here to protect and serve. Mm-hmm. And you're supposed, but we know that that's not the truth. Mm-hmm. The truth of the matter is, it depends on what type of citizen you are and who mm-hmm. you are. Now, I'm going to give this one back to Brother Tim. And I'm going to give you something that a young lady named, that I like a lot. Her name is Quinta Brunson. She has that show called Abbott Elementary. And now you're probably seen Abbott Elementary. It's a great show. It's a funny show. I think Cheryl Lee Ralph is on the show. It's one of the highest rating shows, new shows that was on ABC this year. So what happened is, her show is about an Abbott Elementary, a fictitious school in Philadelphia. And it's a comedy. But people were on social media trying to get her to do a show on police shooting. And this was her response. She says, "Wild. How many people have asked for a school shooting episode on this show that I write? People are deeply removed from demanding more from their politicians they elected, and instead are demanding from entertainment. I can't ask any more of y'all, are y'all okay? Because the answer is no. You want me to fix what your politicians should be fixing. What do you say to that, Tim?
Well, I think it goes back to an earlier point. It's time out for taking photos, just wanting to be a part of the crowd with these politicians. And we truly have to hold them accountable to what our needs are and what our issues are. Because they get in the office and most of them, change their agenda to fit their own personal need. And we have to call it out when they're drifting too far away from the needs of their own constituency. And
all right, so I'm going to keep you right there, my brother. And listen, stay there because I want everybody in this one. We live in Delaware. All four of us live in Delaware. All four. I know I travel around the country and all other spots too. But one of the things that we see here in Delaware is that the people who get their money from the Fraternal Order of Police, who get their money, are the ones who will block legislation that is good safety gun laws. And you're right about the politicians. They do it all the time. And it's from both parties. Both parties. It doesn't matter whether it's Democrat or Republican. Hell, we haven't had any libertarians voted into office here, but I bet you it will happen with them too. So you're absolutely right, and I'm agreeing with you 100%. Patrice, what do you say about that? The entertainment is not going to save us, and it's not entertainment's job to bring this to light. We need to bring it as regular folks to our politicians to get better gun safety laws.
Yes, and I absolutely agree with that. They're entertainers. That's what they do. They're entertainers. We're not looking for them to solve society's problems. Maybe mirror society's problems, but we're not looking for them to. And let me tell you something else. Police do not solve crime. Police do not prevent crime. They respond to crime.
They're playing defense.
Yeah, they're playing defense. Okay. And the thing is, when you say protect and serve who? Okay.
That's right.
Remember the legacy of the police force.
Yes, yes, sir.
The police force is the slave patrols. And of course, in the North, the legacy of the police force was to protect the wealthy from what they considered undesirables. Okay? That's right. Yes, it is up to us to hold these people accountable. And I'll tell you something, I see people get all excited for crumb, for a nothing burger, because that's what the executive order from Joe Biden was, a nothing burger.
Woo! We gonna go there on another show, my brother, but right. You absolutely, we're gonna stay on topic, but you're right. That's I'm gonna say this, and they watch us all the time on these shows. They may not comment, but they are watching you all the time.
Oh, I know that.
Tawanda, I'm going to go over here. We've been calling out. You and I have definitely, and I think everybody here we've been calling out the bullshit, for the obvious bullshit, for years. We've been calling that out. And the one thing we will say in our communities, especially our Black communities, is that we have had discrimination by neglect. And discrimination by neglect is when they don't do their jobs, whether it be the government or the county or the municipality. Unsolved murders in our community is an issue for me. I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because more and more that we get unsolved murders, the more and more you're telling people that they can do it. And I know you do the stuff with Bring Back the Children. I just want to give you this one stat, and then you can comment on this. Guns have become the leading cause of death in America. And before guns, it was automobile accidents. Now guns have now taken over on top of automobile accidents. What do you say about our police responding a lot of our community shootings? How they respond to those?
I feel like the police don't care anymore. Because again, it's not their obligation to solve crimes. I'm more upset with the communities because it's our communities that we need to take back, and not only if the police is not there, we need to police the police also, and also police our own communities. I can remember back in the day, I could go anywhere because why? Because we had a system of neighbors that watched over us, grandmoms that watched over us. We don't have that in this generation anymore. We don't have people that's looking out for anybody. Anytime a 2 and 3 year old can get shot in the head in the center of in the heart of Wilmington in broad daylight, and no one wants to talk. It's a problem. It's a problem that we have, that we need to get over this no snitching, because again, tomorrow it could be your child, it could be your grandmom. It's ridiculous, and we need to change. We can't rely on the police. We see that time and time again. Right. So we need to be out here.
Well, you know, I'm going to give that to Tim, and I agree with that. I know we can't rely on them, but yet they take your tax dollars and they do whatever they want to do with it and all that. And you do live in the United States, and so we have to have them have some accountability. But yes, we should be accountable for our own actions as well. But we're not going to blame it all on the victim now. You are putting these jobs, these politicians, and this is where I'm coming to you, Tim. Me and you've been in the political realm a long time now, and you give these politicians into office, and I don't care whether they're Democrat or Republican, and yet they will only go to the people that are putting the money up in their pockets. And I know it's a separate subject, but campaign finance reform has to be a big thing for us to get people out. Because right now, Tim, a Republican who is against guns, who's for responsible gun laws, is not going to get elected. Mm-hmm. And until those Republicans who go against that and get elected, is not going to change in the conservative that party. What do you say about that?
Well, in regards to the Republican agenda, one thing they have done well that we need to master is they are very adamant about their agenda, and they don't compromise on their agenda. And they are willing to work years and decades to get their viewpoint passed into law. We have to step our game up and put more pressure on these politicians that we support to carry our agenda to the finish line. And if you don't, we have to be bold enough to say we are not going to support anything other than that.
And step up with the voice. Yes. Because here in Delaware, we're supposed to be a Democratic supermajority, but it seems like we don't get nothing done.
Right.
We don't get. I'm just gonna, and we just got a couple of more minutes here. It's we're an hour and 8 minutes in, real quick. One of the things I saw also, and this can go to anybody. Bernice King, Dr. Martin Luther King's junior daughter, put out something about stop weaponizing mental illness. Now we touched on it a little bit in the early, but stop weaponizing mental illness to excuse inaction regarding common sense gun legislation. Mm-hmm. And we all know that this is their playbook. They all come from the same playbook. As soon as a gun incident happens, that guy got to be crazy. And what Tawanda said earlier was 100% right. No racism and going out here. And there's a lot of people with mental illness who are not shooting up schools. Our forefathers that had to do discrimination, because Lord knows if I was born in the 40s, I'd have probably been one of the mental illness. I'd have shut up some schools back then. But I'm telling you now, the way they always do that playbook of mental illness is lame and it's tiring. What do you say about that, Tawanda?
I say it's one-sided, because if you look at black crime and you look at that against white crime, when have you ever seen mental illness be the reason that a black person went up and shot up a community. It's only one-sided when you want to justify white crime to me. I've never seen an article where they use black mental health crisis, which we totally are in, and we have every excuse to use it. But when have you ever seen it to constitute any crime? It's not. You have the headlines of, oh, they was an ex-con, or they was this, or whatever negative you can find. Mental health crisis is something that they're playing with, and it's something that we shouldn't use to play with, because there's so many people out here that really have mental health crisis. But it's only used for the narrative of a justification of why you have these domestic white terrorists going in and blowing up and shooting up and killing all these innocent people. That's only when we use mental health crisis.
You're absolutely right, y'all. And you absolutely think. And before we get out of here, I'm just going to thank again all of our guests that were on tonight. Miss Tawanda Graves, since you're the lady here, you get to go first. Tell them what you're about and tell them how they can reach you.
So I cover a lot of Black news, and you can find me on Facebook under Tawanda Graves. Also, I have a page for Bring Back Our Children on Facebook. Also, the most place I'm on is Instagram. It's bring_back_our_children on Instagram, and we just cover all missing kids, but it's a higher focus on getting minority kids the same playing field that any other child deserves.
That's right. And next up I got up is my man Patrice Gibbs. And tell them how they can get in contact with you, and tell them what are you doing.
Okay, I am Patrice Gibbs, your third eye optometrist from the Open Eye Radio Show, Saturday mornings at 11. It's also simulcast on Facebook at Saturday mornings, every Saturday morning at 11. And one of the things I got to say, here's one question I want to ask for politicians that are catching us. Show me in your budget the funds allocated to fight white supremacy.
Agreed. I hear you, brother. I hear you. And last but not least, Dr. Tim. Dr. Tim Johns, tell them how they can reach you and tell them how they can get in contact with you.
Well, you can I'm on all three platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and also YouTube. And so you can just pull me up on Timothy Johns. YouTube is Dr. Tim Johns. You can see all my messages. I run a local ministry here in Bear. I pastor a great group of folk, and we're about empowerment, economic empowerment, political empowerment. I believe, it is my belief, that you cannot have the scripture in your life and not have no outward success of what you say you believe. And so that is my vein, and I've been an educator, so and that's my lane. So
yes, sir. Now I don't want y'all to leave real quick, but I got one video, and I just want y'all to comment on it. This is my man Sank from the Young Turks, real quick, and we'll be right back, and then we're out. Peace.
They attack black people after they've been murdered when they did absolutely nothing wrong. You're pushing us to the limit. And what do I mean by that? You're asking us to talk about history, the history of the South. This is in Georgia. What happened in Georgia? There were savages in Georgia. It was the ancestors of the white right-wingers. They were absolute savages. They murdered people. They lynched people. They raped people. They enslaved people. They took babies from their mothers and sold them as property. You want to talk about savages? Your ancestors were the biggest savages the world has ever seen. And so don't you dare call a black man a savage after you murdered him. Don't you dare do that. I'm so sick of African Americans being called violent when the world's worst violence was done to them, not by them, to them, not by them. For God's sake, you want to do racist stereotypes? If it fit anywhere, and it doesn't, but if it fit anywhere, it would certainly fit white right-wingers in the South, who has hundreds of years of history of being savages. Savages. They snatched babies and they sold them as property and they raped their mothers. Savages. That's what.
Now, don't you wish more black folks were that passionate about the issue? Listen, y'all, this has been the Hard Talk with Jakim. Listen, this was a special Wednesday one. Remember, you can always check us out. We're going to be on YouTube on Delaware Info Now. That's YouTube on Delaware Info Now. I would like to thank all of my guests for being here. You put on a nice great conversation. We're going to do it again for something else, and you have a great